There's a lot riding on Dune Messiah. I'm sure there will be things that I really love, and I'm sure there'll be things that maybe I don't like so much. But it's nice that we have had these different interpretations that combined, I mean, they do offer a lot of depth to these different adaptations. I recently watched Children of Dune. Again, it's been a little while actually. When it came to specifically the Dune Messiah story, it's very interesting how much the show incorporated Children of Dune into the narrative. It wasn't a story on its own. Dune Messiah and Children of Dune were looked at as an entire narrative for the show, and a lot of things from Children of Dune were inserted into Dune Messiah when Sissa Carino was the head conspirator. And that is an issue that I have. There's a lot to love in the Children of Dune series, specifically with like Paul and Chani and Irulan and the intrigue there with the plot, how it did actually unfold. And of course, later with Leto II and paving the way for him, love James McAvoy. But yeah, I don't like some of the things that make when Sissa Carino such a huge part of the conspiracy. And I get it. I get why they did it, because it is a show that had both of these stories in it. And I think they felt that it flowed better to incorporate some of the narrative of the third book into the second book story. And they did the same thing with Dune when it came to Princess Irulan taking on a bigger role, because she does go on to have such a significant role in the story later on. So I think they did intend to do the sequel series, Children of Dune, at that point. And that's why Irulan was given a greater role. And yeah, I love Julie Cox's role in that. But yeah, I am actually excited just to see a film interpret just this one story without relying so much on what comes after. I get paving the way a little bit when it comes to the end and paving the way for the future, like the source material does already with the children, Leto II, and where that goes. But as far as like Dune Messiah's narrative, yeah, I'm excited for it just to be from Dune Messiah. I'm interested to see how that plays out. I want Scytale to be the lead conspirator, definitely. I'm excited to see that, and hopefully we'll see Edric get his time to shine. I'm really excited to see how he looks. There's a lot that they need to do in Dune Messiah, and I think that the miniseries did a lot of things very well. I like how they handled Paul and Chani's relationship and the intrigue there with Irulan. And I like what they did with Chani's story, because they kind of incorporated some of what Paul does in relation to who's going to be the mother of his heirs. And Chani is given a bit of what Paul says to Irulan. So instead of Paul and Irulan having these awkward conversations, saying that she'll never be the mother of his children, they gave that to Chani, and they kind of made a really cool, tense moment when she finds out who's been poisoning her with contraceptives. So obviously there's going to be some different things as it plays out in this interpretation with Villeneuve's films, because Paul and Chani are not where they were in Villeneuve's interpretation at the end of Dune Part 2. So there's some creative liberties that might be taken, but hopefully they'll make their way back to the source material, how that plays out, and do it in a organic way that's hopefully strikes to the spirit of the source material. I'm eager to hear news. I hope that we can get some confirmation about Robert Pattinson and the role that he's playing. That would be nice. I think some more tidbits of information, just whatever crumbs you can give us, could help. But I think that's going to be maybe the biggest issue that people will have, is how is this going to work out with Paul and Chani? At least we do know that it's going to end where it should, because Villeneuve did confirm that he doesn't want to mess up any future filmmakers coming in and continuing on with the saga. So I think how it ends will be very crucial. This will be the first film adaptation of Dune Messiah, and I am very intrigued and excited by the opportunities of adaptation that this will afford, with a big budget and this visual style, and in particular, a director who is just looking at the novel of Dune Messiah, that's not trying to pave the way so heavily for the next story. It'll just be left up to what's already in the source material to do that. And we have had rumors of Leto II and Ganima being looked at for casting. So I think that might just be the way that they do that. I think that part 1, I have less issues with that one than I do with part 2. But at least overall, I enjoyed that the emphasis was on the theme surrounding Paul Atreides and the way his character was portrayed. And so in that respect, I do have confidence with that storyline moving forward with Paul. And of course, with Duncan, I very much enjoyed having Duncan have his rightful place to shine in Dune, something we've never seen before in previous adaptations. So in that respect, I have some basis for confidence in Messiah's story. But yeah, for the relationship issues regarding Paul and Chani, I'm a bit cautious there. And also just Villeneuve's approach to minimalize things. I just really hope that he goes straight into the Spacing Guild and the face dancers. He'll have to show a mentat because that's what hate is. And that's what Paul is. He's never even mentioned that. We need to have some love here for these other factions. It is my hope, because there's some delicious stuff in the source material, and that's what fans are excited to see. And I understand the limits of interpreting such dense material, but I think Dune Messiah's story is actually more adaptable. The world, for a good part, is set up. I mean, he does have to work on some world building and catching up on the guild, and he'll have to introduce face dancers and Bait Tleilax and that, but it takes place over a very short amount of time. So there's not a ton to fit in there. There doesn't need to be any time jumps, only in between the films with the 12-year time jump, but maybe just try to incorporate some action here and there, have a more even pace. I think it will come out more like Dune Part 1 in terms of its action to world building ratio, which I enjoy Dune Part 1. I like that a bit more. Duncan and Duke Leto, I thought they were portrayed very well. But yeah, I am excited to see just this novel set up on its own and adapting the source material as is, and not trying to incorporate so much of Children of Dune's narrative to do so.